If you could do nothing else for the next week but drill question stem recognition, that alone might give you 5 points in the next week. This is Vivian, and she's looking to improve her LSAT score from a 143 to a 155 or a 160 over the next 3 months. My name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT for the past 20 years. Today, Vivian's going to bring me her biggest LSAT challenges, and I'll help her address them. Let's dive in. Well, when are you taking the LSAT? How far off are we?
I'm planning to take in June.
Okay, so we've got 3 months.
Yeah.
And what's your goal for June? What are you hoping to score?
My goal is 160, but with 155, I can get into the school already. But,
Okay, and where are you scoring right now?
143.
143. Okay, so we're looking to go from 143 to minimum 155 and ideally 160 in 3 months. And what would you say is the biggest challenge that you're facing right now?
Anxiety.
Anxiety, okay. Tell me why you feel anxiety.
I don't know. It's just that it's a long story. I live in US. English is not my first language. And I went to college 6 years ago, got my bachelor, 2 following years, I got my master, and now I want to go to law school. And I just learned all my English in these last 6 years, all the writing, everything. But my GPA is great. I got 395 in my bachelor and in my master's. It's just that LSAT is killing me. I took 3 times already. But it's hard. It's hard. But I think I'm doing pretty good. My last LR, I was very impressed. That was one that I had done like a long time ago.
Well, I'm excited to dig into this and help you out. You mentioned you've taken it 3 times already, and this in June is going to be your 4th take. Obviously, being a non-native speaker poses some unique challenges. Despite that, your GPAs are fantastic. I'd love to help you match those with a killer LSAT score. Now, you've joined LSAT Unplugged recently. We've been diving into the review process. Have you ever engaged in a review process like the Socratic review method before?
No, I didn't.
Were you documenting your review in the past?
No, I was just, my only document was like minus 10, minus 12, minus 7, minus 8, just like numbers.
Okay, so you were documenting your results in terms of how many you got wrong per section, but you weren't documenting your thought process.
No.
With your mistakes.
No.
Okay.
I was just like reviewing, understood what I did wrong and I move on. But that, yesterday was my first assignment to do the ALR. Oh my God, that took me forever to finish. I know that was some things missing that I should have write why was wrong too. And I just wrote the why was wrong on the ones that I got incorrect. But this one from today will be better. It was my first one, but I at least I know that what I'm doing wrong.
Excellent. I'm glad that you're digging into it. I'm glad you're adopting this review process, because if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're just going to make them again. So we make the mistakes now and learn the insights from them so that we're not going to make the same mistakes again. So let's dig into your review document. Thank you for sharing it with me. I'm excited to take a look.
Sure.
Yeah, so I have it here. Can you see it there on your end?
Yeah.
So I see here practice test number, prep test number, section, question, stimulus, argument structure, question stem, your documentation of choices A, B, C, D, E, the takeaways. And so you're doing this PT 101, starting right from the top. You're also noting the question type.
Oh yeah, that was
cool.
Before. Yeah, and I just put the color. Green is the right ones and the red's the wrong ones.
Excellent, great. All right, so you're documenting a lot here. I love to see it. How is this process going for you? Do you feel that it's helpful?
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting because I had to really to think about it when I was doing this. It's a long process. It takes a lot of time. And also I have accommodation. Then it's my test is a double time. Then it's I take an hour to take the test. To do this review was 2-3 hours for each one. And think about it, what was right, what was wrong, and what not to do again.
Yeah, it can be really time consuming. It can take as long to review the exam as it does to take the exam.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing this for?
Yesterday was my first day.
That was your first day?
Yeah.
Are you feeling like it's valuable?
Yeah, I thought it was valuable. A lot of things that I had to think again and until I was writing, because then when I started to pass like the stimulus to the spreadsheet, I had like to rephrase it, to put in my own words. Then it's like I had to rethink again. Then I think was very valid because that translation from the paper to the computer make you like have another view. And even like one of the questions that I had wrong, when I was like thinking what I should write to condensate what was the stimulus, I couldn't even like see what was wrong. And I think was very valuable. I like it.
Well, that's a really key insight, that when you're engaging in this process, it takes work to figure out what exactly was wrong with the method of reasoning in the argument, or maybe in the choice that you picked initially, right? So the work is in recognizing what you did incorrectly on your previous attempt so that you can avoid making the same mistake the next time around. The review process, when done properly, can be incredibly time consuming, and as a result, a lot of students get discouraged from doing it at all. The thing is, done properly, it can take just as long to review an exam as it does to take an exam. If your standard exam is 2.5 hours, another 2.5 hours devoted to review can feel like diminishing marginal returns. What's the point? I'd rather just take another exam and collect more data, get more exposure to more questions. But the thing is, unless you fully learn the lessons of the questions that you're getting wrong, you're probably just going to end up making the same mistakes again because the LSAT repeats itself. Now, reviewing every single question on a 100-question exam is a lot of work, and a lot of that may not be necessary. And so a lot of what I look to help students do is help them study more efficiently by narrowing their review to only the questions that truly need it. This also allows you to go deeper on the questions you are reviewing. So if you got a question right and you feel confident about it, especially if it was an easy one, you feel like you solved it pretty efficiently, no need to spend any more time there. Instead, devote that time to the questions that you got wrong, obviously, but also to the ones that you got right if you had difficulty with them. If you were down to 2, if you guessed and got lucky, but it could have just as easily gone the other way, that's another great candidate to review in depth. And so maybe, rather than reviewing 100 questions for a single exam with 4 sections, including the extra unscored experimental section, maybe you're going to review the 15 or so that you got wrong, plus another 15 that you guessed on and got lucky, or could have solved a bit more efficiently.
What do you recommend? You think that I should, even the right ones, I should write everything, or just the wrong ones?
That's a great question. So let's dig a little bit deeper into the document, right? So let's look at what exactly are you doing and how can we help you allocate your time more efficiently as you adopt this review process, because as you said, it is time consuming. Now you're doing this for a whole lot of questions. You're doing the breakdown of the question type, the structure of the argument, the stimulus, then choices A, B, C, D, E. For a lot of these, you're just writing eliminated. And so I'm wondering if you can consolidate columns A, B, C, D, E. And instead of making 5 columns for the 5 choices, you could instead have 4 columns.
Okay.
You're going to have 2 columns for the wrong answer that you picked and 2 columns for the right answer. You're going to look at, for the wrong answer, what was tempting about the wrong answer choice that made you pick it and what ultimately makes it wrong, and what was unappealing about the right answer that pushed you away from it and what ultimately makes it correct. So you have these traps of encouragement towards the wrong answer and traps of discouragement away from the right answer. So again, the wrong answer choice, 1 column for why it was tempting for you, another column for why it was ultimately wrong. For the right answer, a column for what was unappealing about it, and another column for what ultimately makes it right. Those are the 4 columns for the answer choice analysis. A lot of the time, students will confidently eliminate 3 answer choices, then they're down to 2, and that is where the review comes in. The 3 that you eliminated off the bat, you probably don't need to spend a whole lot of time there, but I do want you to double down and focus on the wrong answer choice that you picked or were tempted by, and then the right answer choice that maybe you didn't find appealing. And so rather than spending equal time on all 5 answer choices during your analysis, I would instead probably recommend that you devote the majority of your review time to either analyzing the stimulus, analyzing perhaps an unfamiliar question stem, and then for the wrong answer, looking at 2 elements of it, what was tempting about it that made you pick it or consider it, and then upon reflection separately, what makes that wrong answer choice wrong. A lot of the time, attempting wrong answer is half right, where the first half sounds really good, but there's one small word that pushes it into the incorrect category. Then separately, you have your unappealing right answers. And so for those, you want to look at what was unappealing about it to you that made you not want to pick it. And then upon reflection, what makes it technically correct even if you didn't love the wording. So rather than having 5 columns in your review sheet for each of A, B, C, D, E, I would encourage you to have 2 columns for the wrong answer. First, what made it tempting, and then secondly, what made it wrong, and then for the right answer, what made it unappealing, and then upon reflection, what made it correct. In addition, you have your stimulus column, your question stem column, and you're not always going to fill in every single column. In some cases, maybe the question stem wasn't the issue, or maybe the stimulus wasn't the issue. In some cases, the choices might not have been the issue because the stimulus was where the misunderstanding stemmed from.
Sometimes it's like I still have like some problems to identify one question that I always never know if it is one or the other. It's like the most strong, the most sufficient, most strong support, or must be true. It's like, but then when I started to read, oh, that has to be that one, and I always come out that's right. But the other ones, I think I can recognize which ones. That's not a problem. Sometimes it's like the wordings are they put like some words that I never heard. Then it's like I have to guess what they're saying with the context of the whole stimulus, then try to guessing there and then guessing in the...
Yeah, we consider that so the question stem type. So recognizing the proper question stems to know what type you're dealing with.
That's not a problem. I have been doing okay with recognizing the proper question.
Well, were you saying there that there's an issue with most supported versus must be true in terms of knowing what they're asking for?
No. What they're asking for is the question. Sometimes they put it like something that I was like, is this must be true or not? But then ends up come out right. I'm trying to see if I can see one here. This one's like they say, which one the following logically follows from the literary historical claim? Then that must be true. I was like, that must be true, or that's more strong support, because follows logically. Then it's like everything's about, because they are referring to the claim that the historian had made it. Then this claim was supposed to be right, then the answer will follow logically. This will be must be true, or that will be, because that's just one inference. Which one of the two will be must be true or most strong support? That was my, and always when I see that question, I always like have to stop and think. It's still not like a go quickly like the other ones.
Okay, I'm really glad you raised this point, Vivian, because this is suggesting to me that you are thinking through what the question type means in real time during the exam. You're sitting there looking at this question stem, puzzling over what does this mean? What are they asking me to do? And the thing is, there's a limited number of question types in logical reasoning. There are only about 15 of them. And for each of those 15 types, whether it's necessary assumption, sufficient assumption, most strongly supported, must be true, strengthen, weaken, etc., there might be 3 or 4 different question stems to refer to each one of those 15 types. But it's still a limited set that they're pulling from. If you can get crystal clear on the task they are asking you to perform, then when you encounter these question types in a timed section, in a full exam, on test day itself, you will be able to solve them rapid fire because you will have already thought through what it means now. So this is part of your review process. That question stem column is going to be really important for you in addition to the answer choice columns. So when you see that you got something wrong because you saw follows logically if which one of the following is assumed, or which one of the following follows logically from the information above, those mean very different things.
I know, but that ones I know. Yeah.
No, you know them, but there are some that you don't know. And whichever ones you don't know, that's what I want you to drill. That's what I want you to practice. Because if you're at the low 140s, looking to get to mid 150s, 160. There's enough other difficult things about the exam aside from question stems, but question stems are an easy gimme. Like they're the table stakes. And so if you could do nothing else for the next week but drill question stem recognition for whichever ones that give you trouble that you're not totally solid on, that alone might give you 5 points in the next week.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be a couple of those per section.
Yeah, luckily those two that I'm confusing is almost the same thing. They assuming that the stems are true, and with challenge is just like the answers, and they cannot have like a new ideas. They almost are the same thing. They just like the intensity of the truth to that is different, and also it's very like it's slightly different. Then it's like it's not much difference.
Yeah, but small differences on the LSAT can have big consequences.
I know.
Those small nuances, drill down on those, emphasize them, fill in your review document with those distinctions, put those in your takeaways column. What are the major takeaways? What are the major insights? That's something you might want to look at.
Okay.
And put that down there so that you can note these are the types of question stems that give me trouble. These are the categories that give me trouble. Maybe I'm going to drill more of these. A lot of students have trouble distinguishing between different question types that have very similar wording in the question stems. But the thing is, there are small nuances or differences in the wording of the question stem that make all the difference when it comes to determining what the LSAT is actually asking us to do. For example, if we have a question stem that says, the conclusion above follows logically if which one of the following is assumed, that if blah 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 assumed tells us we are assuming all 5 choices should be taken as given. And the question is, which one of the following, if taken as new information, would guarantee the validity of the argument above, and that guarantee that the conclusion follows logically? That would be a sufficient assumption question. In contrast, if the question is asking us which one of the following is true if we assume the information in the stimulus to be valid, that would be an inference family question or a must be true, because they're telling us that we're assuming the information in the stimulus is true and valid and given. And the question is, which one of the following could we infer based on that? So small differences in the wording of the stem make a big difference in terms of the truth value of the inference that we're evaluating. And the thing is, we don't want to be interpreting the logic of these stems for the first time during your official LSAT on test day. You want to have already spent the time analyzing these stems, recognizing their nuances during your studying, during your practice, during your review, so that you're primed to recognize these differences on test day during timed conditions when it truly matters. You've got 3 months, so if you want to take a week just to focus on this, to lock up those 5 points, I'm all for that. And then beyond that, you go back and do more of the answer choice analysis.
What do you suggest me to do? Go and drill those type of questions? Just must be true and must strong support, like all mix it and drill all those a bunch of time to make sure that I recognize those? That's what you mean?
If that's the area where you're having trouble with question stem recognition and what the implications
Just
are,
those two, yeah.
Yeah, then by all means, spend the time there making sure this is must be true, meaning the choice must be 100% supported by the stimulus versus most strongly supported, where it is incredibly likely, but not necessarily 100% guaranteed.
Okay. Another question that I have is, on this review, should I list all the right answers to all the right questions too, or just the wrong ones?
Yeah, so back to that, I'm glad you're raising that question. So to circle back on that, the question is, should I review every single question I do, or only the ones I got wrong? Is that it? Okay, so I would say reviewing every single question might be overly time consuming. So I want to help you study more efficiently by narrowing the scope of what you work on so that you have time to go deeper on the questions that truly need it. So wrong answers, yes, of course. On top of that, the ones you guessed on and got lucky,
Yes.
but perhaps could have gone the other way where you weren't 100% sure. But if you got it right and you were super confident in it, no need.
Yeah, maybe the ones that I was like between two and I'm gonna choose that one, but the other one was like almost.
Right. Now you mentioned a lot of these columns. I mean, you're eliminating 3 and you're down to 2, right? So a lot of times the 2 is the focus.
Yeah.
I would say in those cases, you want to focus on the two, and just those. But if you got it right and there were no issues, if it's a green and you're good on it, then there's no need to spend time there. I'd rather you go deeper on the others. Now, you mentioned this is taking you 2.5, 3 hours to do this review for an exam. Tell me about your week and how much time you have to study over the course of the week.
The whole day.
You have the whole day?
I'm not working, I just studying. I'm studying 8-10 hours per day.
Oh, wow.
The whole day.
Do you feel like that's sustainable for you?
Yeah, I
Good.
love to study. Then for me, it's okay.
How long have you been studying 8-10 hours a day for?
Just I was finishing my master's, which I was studying 15 hours per day. And then I started the LSAT right after. That was since May last year. I started, but then I stopped for 2 months. Then I started again. Then I stopped because I had to take the state test for my master's. I am a social worker. And then I had to study for this, and it's like for the last 4 months straight, I have been studying.
Okay. Are you taking breaks during that time?
Yes, I started around 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then around 12 I stopped, and then I stopped like for an hour. Then I come back, and then I stay until the class start, which is 7 o'clock, and finish at 9. But then
I love that.
In
I
the
love
middle,
the dedication.
like around 4:30, I stop. I have a little, like a half an hour break, and then come back.
Well, I love the dedication. I love the commitment. As long as you're watching your energy levels and you're not burning out. Everyone's different. I mean, I love the dedication and the drive to make this happen. And I love that you're going to have the time to fully adopt this new review process. As you have your LSAT questions journal tracking that you're doing. Just keep filling this out, refine it more. As we discussed on our call here with the 2 wrong answer columns, the 2 right answer columns.
Yeah, I love
Maybe do that
the
drill.
study plan, because then I have everything laid down, what I have to do day by day, which is is more organized for me. I need to have like some kind of like direction where to go, and that's great.
So the day-by-day study plans are key, and for every student, we make it different. You have 8-10 hours a day, so yours is going to be super detailed, lots of questions to work on. In your case, starting back at PT 101 is totally fine. For someone else, they might start at PT 130 or 140 because they're not going to have time to do them all. But you're going to have time to do them all and review them in depth. And I think that's going to be a huge difference maker for you to get you those 15, 20 points or so. So here's a moment that stood out to me in this conversation. Vivian said she's studying 18 hours a day. And no, that's not a mistake. 18 hours every single day. And she said it with a smile. Now, I've worked with students for the past 20 years, and I've seen a lot of study schedules. And when I hear someone say I'm doing 18 hours a day and I love it, a few alarms start to go off in my head, not because she's crazy or she's wrong, because this is the exact trap that high achievers fall into. Let me tell you a quick story. I once worked with a student, let's call her Rachel. She was a classic perfectionist, type A personality. She built out a beautiful color-coded schedule with 14-hour days, 5 practice tests a week, and a 50-tab Google Sheet to track every single question. And she was crushing it for 2 weeks, but then she crashed hard. She went from getting -3 on logical reasoning to -13, and she could no longer finish timed sections. She'd stare at the screen and go totally blank. That is burnout. And it's not that her motivation vanished, it's that her brain literally couldn't keep up with the overload. So here's the big takeaway. Just because you can do something extreme doesn't mean you should. Doesn't mean that it's effective or that it's sustainable. Now here's how I coach students to approach LSAT prep smarter, not just harder. First, you've got to start with a realistic baseline. Ask yourself, can I really do 8, 10, 12 hours a day consistently without sacrificing comprehension, sleep, or my sanity? If not, you scale it back. Quality beats quantity every single time. Then you also want to track your energy, not just the hours that you're putting in. 2 different students might both study for 6 hours. One of them remains alert and focused. The other one is scrolling their phone between sections. Guess who learns more? Next, you gotta build rest into your study plan on purpose. Sleep, exercise, regular breaks, none of that is optional. That's all fuel to keep you moving forward. I'd call this strategic laziness because it's how you bounce back sharper the next day. And finally, do fewer things better. Don't try to conquer every single question type in a single week. Master one section, then the next. That's the laser approach. Learning, accuracy, sections, exams, and review. That is the path to hitting a 170 and above. Now back to Vivian. She's got the drive, she's got the intensity, and that is a superpower. But my job as a coach is not to cheer her on blindly. It is to protect her from burnout even when she doesn't see it coming. And that's the kind of guidance that most students never get. And so if you're watching this, if you're pulling all-nighters or you're measuring your self-worth by how many hours you're putting in, pause and ask yourself, is this sustainable? Is this effective? Or am I just wearing myself down? If the answer makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, that is your signal to switch gears. Smarter, not longer. That is how you win. Have you been joining most of the classes so far?
All the classes.
All the classes?
Yep, I'm taking all the classes. I really enjoy. I love it. I was joining another group before, which I left, and I thought it was great because the group is small and you really can interact, and the instructors are so nice. They really call you. No, come on, let's do it. And that's good because you're not only one person in the middle of a lot of other ones. That's make a difference because then you really have to force yourself to do it.
Exactly. That's the accountability. That's the support. If you're just doing a webinar where you're anonymous, typing in a chat box, you might as well just watch a video in that case. But when it's a small group like we have, then it's more interactive and personalized, and you can speak with the instructor, speak with the other students, maybe get called on here and there if you're open to that. We want to keep you engaged, right? Studying has to be active in order for you to get something out of it. Whether it's the small group class or it's the documenting review process, you got to get it out of your head like you were doing before, just writing down how many you got wrong. Like, yes, you're tracking your results, but the tracking alone doesn't lead to a change unless you make a change by looking at what you're getting wrong and why.
Exactly. Yeah, that I haven't ever done this, and I think it's phenomenal. I always heard about it, but I never had it to do it. Then it's like, no, I know. I saw what was wrong already. But it makes a difference. Then you just look what you did wrong. Then you have to process what you did wrong. Makes a lot of difference.